A Neter is an Egyptian pantheistic nature deity concept also, or what many refer to religiously as gods. The equivalent of the Sumerian Anunnaki and Elohim, deities, angels, are also all comparative examples. The left side spirits who are malevolent towards humans are called Ushumgalandarzun, who is Pazuzu, and the right side spirits who are benevolent towards humans are called Anunnaki under Enmardukul of Sumerian cosmology. They exist in us in various attributes and as controlling and programming ruling spirit beings. This term, Neteru, or properly Neteru, pronounced Neteru, although better than God, is still partial in its understanding. Overstanding them will let you realize that these are nature deities that were one with, or expressions of absolute nature, the one whole and supreme being in existence, and as existence itself, who has innumerable positive and negative members and parts to represent itself. As stated earlier, the term Neter Shil Neteru / Neteru Shil Neterut means deity, God, of deities, gods, or nature of all nature / nurturer that nurtures all that encompassed all of them as one, in nine, and as all. We bear witness to all Neter / Neteru / nature deities as members and parts of absolute nature's many forms, and non-form. We acknowledge that the powers and forces of nature in the positive are indeed Nupu, our creator. We do not, however, pray / as pray to Nupu, Patana, like they are some spook force, ghost god. We have conversations with the positive powers and forces of absolute nature like they are our relatives because they are. Prayer is a feature of the moon cycle, religion, which we are beyond when we embrace the science no one / none. All the praying to whomever you will, changes nothing. Absolute nature is going to take its course despite what one thinks or believes or tries to do to alter it, and no one, the science of sound right reason, informs us what that course is in keeping with the laws and cycles of almighty nature. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. The Latin of absolute nature is absolutus natura, which is clearly speaking of the absolute of all Neteru or nature deities, nine ether gods, from which they were personified themselves as flesh and blood gods and goddesses on the top half of the circle of existence, the first emanation of the one supreme being called Nupu, Patana. External prayer, exoteric teachings, was a tool to direct us inward. Esoteric teachings, some only viewed it outward. Even in the following Ashutot prayer called Neteru Shil Neterot, meaning O deities of all the deities, recited before you begin the entire prayer ceremony, Pa Ashutot the prayer book, page 45, it states, Neteru Shil Neterot. O deities of all the deities, you all are the nature above all nature, you all are life above all life. We are here each day and night, to pray that you all will protect and guide us through all times. This was a stage in the acknowledgement of absolute nature and the nature of nature, the God in nature, via the sun that will take its course in its own seasons and cycles. We are all Neteru, Anunnaki, now Yaa-Nun and Nun. It was always there, Anuna, Anutu, Elohim, Alam, and Allahumma, if by definition you mean demigods and demigoddesses in the flesh incarnating the positive forces of nature who are revolutionary spirit forces to aid Ethiopians, and who acknowledge the one supreme being we all exist in the bosom, 9, of the ultimate source of all persons, places, and things, and these three are perceivably one, 9, and all. The positive aspects of almighty nature is the mighty Nupu whose ethereal science is no one / none, and the negative aspects of almighty nature is the mighty Zupu whose ethereal science is Zone / Zun, the animal zodiac. The Most High, Neter, our visible creator and Father Sun Re / Anu, represents absolute nature or simply was appointed by all to grow itself into universe order. The sun is a god, boss with supernatural powers. The source of all something / physical element / 9, is nothing, no thing / ether element / 0, as the sons of nature are natural hyperthermal factories for the production or creation, growth into form or composition, of high energies called ether fire from which they grew themselves, thus it is self-created and self-subsisting. Repetition should be making it clearer, right? The nature of nature, the God in nature, which describes absolute nature, all nature, the one supreme being, is not new in our doctrine in its pristine purity found in the 9-ball series of books showing the deception of ghost God via the Caucasian belief in their Bible is very deep, and deliberate indeed. Most English dictionary meaning of words is not the etymological or original meaning. Searching for, finding, and studying the etymological or original meanings of English language words are an education in itself, because it opens the eyes and shows how Caucasians have changed the value, meaning, and purpose of things in order to set up Caucasian supremacy. The word God is an example. In order for the Caucasian to make his creator stronger through belief and deception, he had to state that it is the one supreme being and call it the Almighty, but the definition he gives for the word God is not the complete definition of the one supreme being or Almighty. The one supreme being is infinite omnipotent nature who has innumerable parts and powers. God, therefore, can only be a motivating and activating part of the one supreme being. The one supreme being, the Almighty, is all and everything existing living and dead, visible and invisible, male and female, good and evil, flesh and spirit, etc. The only name attribute that is sufficient as the right name of the one supreme being is one that means all and everything existing, all space, all matter, all time, and their products, and the word God does not fit this definition. The word Almighty means all powers. Thereby, Almighty further means there are no powers of forces existing anywhere, good or evil, visible or invisible, living or dead, that are not a part of the one supreme being or Almighty. Under no circumstances does the word God fit this description of definition of the one supreme being or Almighty, especially since Caucasians and their helpers misrepresent God as being all good and all good and all love to Caucasians maybe, but not darker peoples. The etymological or original meaning of the word God is ghost, and ghost is of death. Ghost is God and spirit of cemetery or necropolis. Ghost is God of the dead mental and physical dead. Ghost is God and God is ghost. The word ghost means gas. It is the gas of death for Ethiopians and life for Caucasians, because Caucasians are its posterity, and this is why American Caucasians put in God we trust on their coins and currency, paper money. Since Caucasians are the posterity of ghost, God, they are the personification of death, and this is why Caucasians kill other peoples freely and deliberately and think nothing of it. The sons of nature grow almighty infinite eternal absolute nature into universe order. We are taught that we are in the love of, part of, and one with all, absolute nature, and at the heart of that realization is complete peace in the personal will of the positive forces of nature, Nupu, and absolute nature. Also, by being aware of the powers of the Son of Nature, Ra, everywhere and at all times, we dissolve our personal identities into the divine source of our existence, our great Father Son. This, to some, is called oneness, but it is understood as nine-ness, and further overstood as allness. Absolute nature is the consciousness that sees, acts and lives through all persons, places, and things, because it is all persons, all places, and all things. Everything that happens, or doesn't happen for that matter, is actually an expression of the all of all, or the all in all. Ba kulum and ba tempta, the all is all and does all. When one realizes the mystery of the oneness of all things as nine-ness or allness, one knows and reasons that they are none other than a Neteru nature God in the flesh, revolutionary demigod, and that they have always been, and will always be beyond every time and place existing as all in all. Then one will understand that all your actions are the actions of a Neterat, Naturat, and your essence belongs to absolute nature. Now, one outside of self, other than self, kind, could easily verbally question another in the actualization of this highly reasoned type of union, but that's based on their own personal insecurity or lack of self-realization. All should feel or experience this divine act among mortals and gods, be they physical flesh and blood or spirit beings, alike. And then, those who claim union also doubt others who proclaim union, a contradiction in itself indeed. We are all in all, various members and parts of and within absolute nature and with one central point of axial focus. If a person doubts his/herself, then how do you expect them to trust you, or not doubt you? Be humble and meek, not to be confused for being naive and passive, and be clear about what your mission and message among them is. If it is clear to you, that does not mean it is clear to all. This is what the sacred master came to give, but it is not adhered to because some Ethiopians want to stay behind the 9 ball in religious degrees. 9 is the very top of the 9 ball, the sovereign of all numbers being the first. Thus it is also 1 in all things add up to 9 on the circle. 9, the creator of all numbers, in actuality created all numbers or precedes them all. 9, existed before the subdivisions, all other numbers. This is 9 reasoning, 9 reasoning, because 9 knowledge is none. It is the responsibility of all Nunibus to reveal nine-ness and allness to humankind. It's not a mystery at all. At the symbolic beginning of the so-called process they, religionists, called creation, a process that happens only in illusionary linear time realization. Every number had to exist already as 9, or in 9 all numbers exist in 9 and are mentally separated from 9, by perception, as digits, fractions, or degrees of 9. 1 is just a fractional digit within 9, so 9 is conceptually all as far as numbers are concerned. Only 9 exists as all numbers, within itself. One can see how 9 is the only one, and thus all herein is the paradox of the trinity or triad of numbers, 1, 1, 2, 9, and 3, all in these 3 are one and the same. All persons, places, and things can be numerically represented and created, like binary code in computer terms. Thus, oneness could be referred to as nineness or allness because any fractional division of the complete or perfect sum, all, is merely illusion. There really is no separation between 9, the only true number, and its symbolic children, the other numbers it grew from itself, just as absolute nature is the only reality, the one supreme being and only whole being in existence. In actuality, we are beyond numbers, yet numbers represent mental, spiritual/ethereal, and physical degrees, facts or truths, in all. 9 is the wheel of time and existence. That is, time and the many changes that time produces in matter exist in a circle. How we determine this is the right combination of numbers to use on the circle is that the digits must be single and consecutive and must add up to 9. 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 equals 72 and 7 plus 2 equals 9. And the digits must divide the circle into 12, 5, equal parts like the zodiac, because the digits 1 and 2 are left out in order for the circle to add up to 9. A circle must add up to 9 because a perfect circle is 9 by nature. Evolution starts at 6 on the left side of circle of time and goes counterclockwise through 5 and 4 and ends in 3. 6 pushes the circle down on the left side and 9 pulls it up on the right. These truths are hidden from the masses. The sacred master is he who is, the first begotten of the mentally dead. The so-called devil, both black and white, wants you to deny the reality of union with all through the axis, Alpt. He wants you to be naive that the sacred master, our Maku, or chief, is just an ordinary physical man that's just really smart, like their Einstein, a mortal. He's much more than that. He represents the head or center, the pivot point, of the Ethiopian race on the circle of space, matter, and time of 72 million years, which is just one great cycle, yet he has the keys to 76 trillion years of information and outformation. He has always been far ahead of the rest. Think about how much he hasn't revealed. We are his humble and meek students still. Although they wanted us to turn away from him. Remember, although Autumn Re is the 0.6 east attribute of Re, which proves he knew he would rise from hell and death, prophetically, we are at the rock bottom 0.3 south sacred attribute of Re called Yaa-Nun Re. This Re is that of the benevolent or agreeable right side A.Nun.Chi. He can exist as the center, axis, or in any and all periods on the circumference, and we are various parts of the body of the circle, all 720 degrees. The evil ones, in whichever form they come, does not want you to realize who you are in relation to him, the axis. Why? Because they want position and power. Yet the circle, 9 in nature, is a geometric form that breeds unity, equality, togetherness, union, continuance, eternity, perpetuity, justice, law and order, rightness, etc. No other geometric form does this, including the square men and cubed houses who claim to be their brother's keepers, yet they cause havoc among families because of the powers of Leviathan called lust and ego. Think outside of the box. The sun is a god appointed by all or absolute nature in our so-called beginning here on earth, and it is done everywhere else because all space, matter, and time is absolute nature that makes degree changes simultaneously. Humans think they're so special as and separate from nature or superior to almighty nature. What fools these mortals be! The sons of nature are called many names: Re, Ra, Angle, Anu, Sol, Shamush, etc., or whatever you visually see and identify with using human language, but his name in the philosophy science known as super and unknown, super and Yaa-Nun, of the great celestial Nf. By being aware of the 9 ether powers of Re/Anu, the sun, everywhere and at all times, we dissolve our personal identities, ego, into the divine source of all we physically see in the form of light, or electromagnetic energy, as well as heat of fire, or what some call ultra-gaseous matter or ectoplasm. Our Father Sun is the undisputed source of all life to us here in this place in space, matter, and time, yet most of our people want religion or spookism. He was appointed as the Most High, over us all, and deserves respect as our visible physical Heavenly Father God Son, but not in spookism nor as the one supreme being. As all things have dual and multiple qualities, if you are dead, the Son of Nature is the source of death. It is ever living, so are you. All things have to experience scientific births, youthful and adult lives, old age, deaths, and rebirths. This is all the processes called age and exhaustion. By age and exhaustion 9 ether became 6 ether, and the same goes for 6 ether and ghost. Comparatively, it is all a matter of timing in almighty nature's seasons and cycles. That is in sun knowledge, birth, Adamer, life, old age, Atun Re, death, Amun Re, rebirth, Yaa-Nun Re, it is an ever-living and ever-dying process of alternating cycles of absolute nature life, mind, and death, sex. The Father-Son Re/Ra, or Anu has a lifespan or cycle of years in which to occupy space, matter, and time, so it is a being that is designated to exist, live, in space, matter, and time, or it is allotted to exist within a certain period of time to rule the heavens here as all sons of nature are born, grow or expand, and die, supernova, which is contract into itself into nothingness, implodes or collapsed into a vacuum of ether/antimatter, from which it explodes to start over again. It recycles itself by the laws of absolute nature, as the visible physical God in nature. Now let's be real, whoever sees this as blasphemous is truly not walking in the light of the Son of Nature. In religious connotations, God, Lord, Jesus, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, etc. all have lifespans or are allotted certain amounts of time for their existence, and when their time is up, that's it. Truth is truth. Death is not some menacing hooded skull who carries a sickle to reap souls. There's more to it than that symbology. Everything that dies, goes through a process of life decay, is in nature and is nature that is the nature of nature. All things go through scientific death or transitions of life decay, just as all things must have periods of loose relaxation or rest, sleep. For rejuvenation this was called evolution. Absolute nature is no different again, all things that die scientific deaths are in absolute nature. The evolutionary cycle was indeed the period of the death of the universe, and the cycle of the dead, all things supernatural, spirit, human, and subhuman. This is why the true culture science called no one/none is the science of beginnings and endings, or life, death, and rebirth. It is so necessary to balance out these false teachings of the evolutionary quarter, cycle, and the moon cycle by the positive powers and forces of almighty nature called sound right reasoning. Absolute nature does not move per se, it is all movement and all non-movement. All does not travel or traverse the sky per se like the sun, although it does symbolically revolve in the form of the perfect form of the SMAT circle of order, as the sun moves in a circuit. All things travel in all, as all. The symbolism of the sickle, is disclosed as the arch of evolution, 1/4, on the bottom left of the circle of existence, in which death rules through death spirit forces and mankind races, and when one describes death they see a pale white, frail or skeletal figure, hooded, to hide from the sun, etc. This is winter on the circle of existence. Evolution is the death and slow decay of a universe. There are galaxies of universes throughout existence just as there are galaxies of stars throughout a universe, and when a universe dies, that death is evolution. Hence, evolution is continuous decay, not improvement as Caucasians would have us believe. Caucasians are ghost people called white people. A universe is a ball of ether whose diameter is in the range from 3 trillion times 6 sextillion miles to 3 trillion times 9 nonillion miles and whose insides are dotted throughout with liquid solid ball growths. According to a law of nature in the code of the opposites, everything that lives must die, be it flesh or spirit, visibly or invisible, and a universe is no exception, although it is the biggest existence that can be called a living being. A universe is living at one time and dead at another time. It is in order at one time and in disorder at another time. When a universe dies, evolution begins, and evolution is 6, and 6 is the zodiac, the animal world. Death of a universe takes the forms of animal kind and the power of necromancy. According to a law of nature in the code of the opposites, there must be those who represent the universe in life and those who represent it in death, because a being who represents life by nature cannot really represent death also, for the formula of life is the opposite of the formula of death. Therefore, since the prime mover in matter was 9 ether who put matter in the orders called universes, it stands to 9 reason that those original living beings in the universes would naturally represent the living universe, and those original living beings were woolly-haired Ethiopian pygmies and their descendants called Takin. Hence, mankind represents the universe in death, which is evolution. Even in their biblical reference, use sound right reasoning. The cycle of death is the evolutionary cycle, quarter or the fourth part of space, matter, and time in all existence. Revelation 6-8, KJV. And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. The duration of death's existence is dependent on the purpose of a person, place, or thing in nature. Some beings personify life, and some personify death. You cannot claim eternal life without realizing the lack of the power of death over you, because you have to reason its season is over. Same with hell, although the majority of minds on this orb earth are still in hell. Do not contract with hell and death and they have no power, even the dead are in death. Revelations 20:12-14, KJV. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death.